I don't want her story. I don't want to move to Austin. You know what I mean? Wherever our Austin is. I don't want to have to.
Oklahoma.
Fuck it. At this point, it's probably gonna be.
So
But
I think the interesting thing, you guys, again, I feel bad for you guys because right now you guys feel possibly like the minority, and if you came down
bro,
here,
yes.
it would be you would be the majority. It's so uncomfortable. Like it's
Let
literally
me
like
let me
it's
tell you
amazing.
that going into Target, because we've talked about, I don't wear masks in store anymore. I will wear a mask. I was just thinking about this earlier today, so it's really funny. We can talk about this afterwards. I do wear a mask in the Gliding Eagle gas station because for some reason I have
It's
this.
federal.
I have this weird respect of like they're like technically a sovereign nation, so like if you're asking me to do it, like I'll
Yeah.
do it, you know. So I don't know. It's
Smart.
that's like the only place that I'll still wear a mask is like inside the Gliding Eagle gas station.
All I'm
I don't know
saying
what
is
it
I
is.
totally understand
But
that feeling.
anywhere else I go, yeah, I don't like Safeway, Walmart, any other place I don't go. And
It's your deep
there are
fundamental like liberty thing.
it's
That's
weird,
why.
yeah,
Because they're sovereign.
and
They have their own deal.
I am one of less than 5 people in any of those stores not wearing a mask. Everyone else is wearing a mask. Everyone. And they look at me, at my wife, at my child like we are a mistake. We are potentially a threat to them because we're choosing not to wear a mask, which is
And you're like, "Bitch, you
one
don't
of
even know."
the oddest things I've ever felt. Because we've talked a lot about the mask and stuff here and with my wife and stuff. That I'm like, the weird thing is that it doesn't. Your cloth mask doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. If everyone was wearing an N95 mask and I was still choosing not to wear a mask, I could see an argument in which you're like, you're the only one being a fuck.
No.
You know.
So
I
this
could.
is the point.
I still wouldn't agree. I still would not
Yeah,
agree.
okay.
But I could.
Okay,
I could
okay.
understand. I could begin to understand where they're coming from because at least they're doing something that works.
Yeah. Because
When you're all wearing a cloth mask that actually doesn't do anything,
Yep.
I don't even begin to buy your argument that I'm a piece of shit because what you're doing is fake. It's complete optics. It doesn't actually work. You're telling me that I don't care when you don't actually either because you're not even wearing a mask that fucking does anything at all.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that pissed me off about that Inslee speech because he harped on that. So we know the masks have an incredible effect on the
Right.
spread. And I'm like,
It's not
no,
genuine.
it does not.
It's not genuine. It's virtue signaling. That's
Yes.
what I'm saying. If it was at least if you're wearing an N95 mask or whatever the fuck, at least I feel like your argument is genuine. I still don't agree. I still think that you're full of shit. I'm still not going to do it.
Yeah.
But I might feel like what you're saying is genuine. You're not just fucking virtue signaling or doing whatever because that's what you feel like you need to do.
Yeah.
You know?
And if everybody is sporting N95 masks, I'm going to assume that if I saw that in actual society,
Some shit is popping off.
something's going on.
Some
like
shit is
some
popping
airborne
off.
Ebola is popping off.
I should maybe
and
consider
I'm probably
wearing
going
a
to be
mask.
doing what they're doing because there is no, like there in my mind, if I actually saw that, that would make sense. And
'Cause
I
we're
would
in the
not have a
N95
problem with
game.
that. But
That's what we're doing now.
that's what we're not doing that.
No.
What we're doing is fake. There's no reason to be doing it. We know what this
And
is now.
is a fake. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And like at the end of the day, does the vaccine work?
Right.
Because if it works, then we're okay. Because like here's what I'm saying. If you have a vaccine and you're wearing your N95 and another mask over it, who cares when I'm breathing? You're fine.
Yeah.
But we've convinced it like it's just backwards. Unless someone's going to tell me that like you're not fine because the vaccine doesn't work when I give you the vaccine, but if someone with the vaccine gives you the COVID, that it does work. Like someone's gonna have to explain to me. Like someone's gonna have to make it make sense, right? We've
So-
been convinced
Yeah.
that my choices now affect you.
Yeah, and that's because the problem here is right. There's legitimacy to the quote unquote vaccine, right?
It
If-
does something.
It does things, right? It benefits certain people in a certain way. It does do that.
Yes.
But the problem is that's not the conversation being had here. I mean, it's the same. It ideally is the same lack of conversation that happened around all the preventative things to help keep you from hospitalization and death when you catch COVID,
Yeah.
or quote unquote if you catch COVID. It helps with those things. It helps bolster those type of immune responses, if you will, right? It offers you a level of protection that the numbers show does provide you some. We'll never know how much because there's no control group. right? Other than the unvaccinated people, right? So you have that comparison, but you have weighted averages and populations and whatever in extenuating circumstances. But it offers you some level of protection from hospitalization and death. The numbers do show that.
Right.
Right. But
I
as
agree.
far as transmission goes, that is not the case.
There still is no, and this is just to add
Yep.
to your, there's people, I begin to people that's all the time. There still is no active tracking of breakthrough cases of COVID-19 for people who've been vaccinated. Jordan's dad and his wife both just had COVID. Both are vaccinated. He's talking about, I'm going to Vegas in like a couple weeks or whatever. I'm definitely going to get the booster before I go. Hold on. First of all, you just had COVID. If you get the booster, it's not going to work. It's not going to do anything. You just had COVID. All that shit is going to die in your system because you just had COVID.
Yeah.
Second of all, you just had COVID. Why the fuck would you get another vaccine when you just had COVID? You probably have,
The best.
theoretically, you have the best protection that anybody could ask for right now because you are duly vaccinated and then you got COVID.
Yeah.
Right?
Your immune system is literally doing the best that it can do towards COVID at that point in time.
Third
your
of all-
personal, your
Literally
individual
doesn't need
immune
you.
system.
Third, when Jordan says this to him, he says, "That's weird. My doctor didn't even say that to me." She says, I bet he also didn't tell you to call the CDC and report your fucking breakthrough case because he certainly didn't do it.
Yeah.
Kevin didn't do it. His wife didn't do it. The doctor definitely didn't fucking do it. So no one knows.
Jesus,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? How many people do we collective? And I'm not fear mongering for YouTube. You know, I'm not. This is a genuine. They're actively not tracking the amount of breakthrough cases.
Yeah.
So for people to tell you, for anybody to tell you that the amount of breakthrough cases is rare, they do not know that.
Yeah.
No one knows that. And if you can talk to people anecdotally, because that's all that you can do, we talked the breakthrough that happened in my office.
Yeah.
Half the people who got COVID, 10 people got COVID, 9, 10 people, half of them were vaccinated. The person who gave me COVID was vaccinated. The patient zero in my office was vaccinated. What are we talking about? And I'm not, said it 1,000 times, I'm not telling you not to get vaccinated, but you can't tell me that you won't get it, you can't spread it, or you're unlikely to, or less likely to, if you have the vaccine, because you don't fucking know that. No one knows that.
Yep.
And even anecdotally, it seems to me, this is totally anecdotal, right? From everything that I've read, because there aren't any statistics on it, it seems to me that there are more breakthrough cases than people who get COVID twice, right? There seems to be more, again, anecdotal, people who got COVID twice if they got the alpha variant and then got it again later, right?
I'm not going to
It's-
lie. I'm kind of worried that I might get it again at some point because
You-
it's been so long since
And
I
who
got
knows? You might have also had the very beginning of the Delta variant.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? No one knows.
it. Well, and I'm also
no one
assuming,
knows.
I should add when I say that, I'm also assuming that when I do get it, it's just going to be shitty again. But it's going to be fine
And-
because I do have some level of base protection. And
Right.
It's no different than how I feel about the fucking other seasonal viruses that flow throughout our society.
And there's
right?
been
I've been exposed to them my whole life. I'm not concerned about this new one because I've been there. I'm there now. I understand. Not everybody is me. I know
And-
some people get it and they die within a day. Like
With
it's some
the-
weird
Yeah,
shit. I don't know, but and the important thing to remember is that every time we talk about COVID, it leads to the freedom, and every time we talk about freedom, it leads to the COVID. But the two are indeed separate conversations. The freedom is the more important one, arguably, because it's more fundamental. The COVID one is also reasonable to have because it's what we're all going through right now. It's the reason we lost our freedom. It's worth talking about. But the idea that we lost the freedom is still a separate conversation and is in no way have any play on how severe this thing could be. Airborne Ebola, we could still be having the same conversation, but the freedom argument still stands. Right? It still stands. It's totally separate. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about COVID, I guess, because every time it happens, every time, because that's how we lost our freedom.
Right.
So that leads
100%.
directly into it. But all this stuff about whether we should mask, whether you should get vaccinated, should not get vaccinated, has nothing to do with whether or not you should be free to make whatever choices
No.
you decide you want to make when it comes to the virus.
Right.
It just drives me nuts. But I will say, like I said, I'm slightly concerned about it, but at the same time, it's just because it's no more fear than I'm worried about getting a bad flu every year. Sometimes it happens. It's like once every 4 or 5 years, I seem to just get knocked on my ass with the flu, and it's fucking shitty. That's my level of concern with catching COVID again.
Yeah.
And that's, I feel like that's a reasonable place for me to sit. And I think I'm being very rational about it. I'm not concerned, really. You know, I'm not running around trying to justify everybody sporting a mask or forcing everybody to get vaccinated. I mean, like, I'm not there, obviously. I argue against it all the time. But, like, it doesn't mean that I'm not anticipating catching COVID again in the future.
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat everything.